Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Guise and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show. Hey, and welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 156?
186.
186.
Close.
I was very close, but this is the EdTech Throwdown. This is our throwdown that we do at conferences, but we thought we'd bring it to the podcast as well and onto the YouTube channel. This is another episode that you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, so since this is our conference presentation, typically the first thing we would do is tell the audience who we are. We're likely going to skip most of that here because this is going on our podcast and our YouTube channel. And if you're listening or watching either of those things, you already know enough about Guise and I. So we're just going to get ahead with kind of introducing our general philosophy with this presentation and all others, which is we know that technology is not a silver bullet and it doesn't solve all your problems. And there's no replacement for just being a good teacher, presenting content in a way that's meaningful and building relationships with your students. However, we also know that EdTech is going to allow you to do stuff that would not be possible otherwise. And that's what we try to keep in mind with the selections in this presentation.
All right, if you want more EdTech Throwdown content, go to our website, edtechthrowdown.com. And you can find out episodes like episode 185, where Nick and I talk about how to teach students AI. We give you a lesson plan. We show you how you could show your students how to effectively use AI and how to use it properly and safely. So go check that out. Now, for the rest of this, we're going to go through 6 AI tools apiece. And we just wanted to let you know that on each one of these slides, which you can get, you can sign up for this presentation to get your own copy in the show notes or under the video below. But everything is clickable. So if you go here, this will take you to the website. Also, this one will take you to the website. This is a video that we've done on Snorkel, and here is a sample. So pretty much anything that looks clickable, it probably is clickable. And you should keep this presentation because these tools might not be useful for you now, but you might look for something later and you could revert back to this, and you should have everything that we go over here for you to follow up on later. So at this time, I'm going to kick Nick out of here and I'm going to go over my 6 AI tools, and then he's going to kick me out and he's going to do his 6 AI tools. And then we're going to let you vote, and we'll explain how you could vote on who presented the better 6 tools involving AI.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, let's get into my first one now that I kicked Nick out of the room. My first one is Snorkel. I'm going to go through this app. It's a feedback app, personalized feedback app. I'm going to give you a sample here. I'm going to go into my Snorkel account, and I just picked a 2nd grade math question that was already pre-done for me. And it says, write a subtraction sentence for the picture and explain. So as a teacher, you would make this problem on the dashboard. AI would come up with an answer or solution to it, and then you could make any changes to that answer that you want. Okay, so that's what's going to happen on the back end. Students will get this whiteboard where they can draw on it using their cursor or their mouse, or they could just use touchscreen if their Chromebook or device allows it. And what they would have to do is first create a formula for this math problem. So 8 total circles minus the 6 with an x equals 2. And they could do that with their cursor. And then they would have to record their explanation. And this is the piece that I really like because it is allowing that AI to take that transcript of that recording and also assess that to check for understanding. So in this, I just said 8 minus 6 equals 2. That's all I gave it. I didn't give any other explanation. And I submitted it as the student, and it gave me this feedback over here. The feedback is the answer is correct. I got a 3 out of 4, which is strong. And it said that I recognized the formula, and they liked how I use equals, but next time you should probably explain why you subtracted the 6 circles. So I didn't explain what the X through the circles meant, and that's why it deducted a point. Now, on the teacher side of this, if I had 20 kids, I could see all 20 kids' whiteboards as they turn them in, and I could see their feedback. And the cool thing is it will bunch students into categories. So all my strong ones will be in one group, and that would be my 4 out of 4 or 3 out of 4 group. And then I'll have a 2 out of 4, and maybe there what they did is they still got the correct answer, but they did 6 minus 8 equals 2, and they flip-flop those. So because the Snorkel AI is giving me a group of kids that all did that, I could call those 4 or 6 kids up and say, hey, you guys did an awesome job, but we switched the placement of the numbers. So let's practice these 3 problems together on the whiteboard. So now we have a little bit of group pooling there, and that's going to allow us to make sure that we're meeting with the kids that need to be met with. And we're doing that because the AI is giving us near instant feedback that's going to allow us to handle these misconceptions early. So that's Snorkel. If you want to check out the student and the teacher side a little bit more, I linked one of the videos, but I also attached the other video. So one's a teacher side and the other one's a student side. They're both on the YouTube channel. So you can go over to the YouTube channel and check out those videos. All right, let's get into my next one, which is Suno. This is a creativity/music AI. I use this to personalize learning outside of the content area, or just to get kids to relax a little bit, or poke fun at Nick, because what else is better? We do this all the time. Him and I have this battle where, we'll play little pranks and everything. So this is where I get to tell a story. And I remember this like it was October 14th because I'm pretty sure it was October 14th. Nick has an office that is about 40 feet across the media center from me. And he came in and he had a nice button-down shirt, but he wore blue jeans. And I was like, yes, got him. So I went over and I was like, hey, Nick, what's up? And he goes, oh, not much. I go, you feeling good today? He goes, I'm feeling relaxed today. I decided to dress down. I was like, I'm proud of you, man. I'm really proud of you. And he goes, why? And I was like, well, you dressed down today. I mean, you've been teaching here 17 years. You deserve it. I mean, I'm proud of you. And he goes, why is it a big deal? And I was like, well, because today's back to school night. And his face dropped. He was mortified, terrified, whatever the word that you want to use there. That was him. And he's like, I totally forgot. And I go, yeah, I know. This is great. And he goes, why is this funny to you? And I go, because you normally dress up, in a full suit, tie, everything. And now you have jeans and you live an hour away. So I know you're not going home. He goes, you're right. I'm not going home. So he immediately went on to the mall's website and ordered himself a pair of pants, a pair of khakis. And I was like, well, I'm going with you because I feel like I need to be a good pal and, show you some support here. So I went with him. We got to the mall and he pre-ordered a pair of slacks that they didn't have. So he ended up buying a pair of slacks that kind of looked like blue jeans anyway to me. And I decided that I wanted to celebrate this moment with a Suno-made song for Nick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the dashboard real quick, but then I'm also going to try to play you the little song that I made for him. So here it is. This is the dashboard. Here you would make a country song about a teacher who wore blue jeans on a back to school night. And you would just hit create. And that's what I did. So let's go back to the presentation. If you click down to the resource, you'll be able to hear the full song. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over, and we're going to hit play here. And this is called Back to School Blues. I'll play a little portion of it.
I wore jeans on back to school night, I don't care. Walked in with my Stetson, folks began to stare. Who's that cowboy? Whispered down the line. Guess I ain't the typical PTA kind.
All right, so there you go. I absolutely love that. It gets into examples of, Nick, the teacher, wearing blue jeans on back to school night. And it was about 3 minutes long, a little more than that. But awesome way just to get things going. You can use this for content as well. I made a photosynthesis song on there. That was pretty good. It got the job done. I played it as the students came into the classroom. So you do have that ability too. So that is Suno. All right, so that was Suno. Let's get into the next one. This is notebooklm.google. This is an AI-driven notes app, but it's also, I use it for way more than just notes. I use it to make AI podcasts. I use it to make resources for my students. Now, I have to tell you a couple of things. First off, Notebook LM, it's only going to be available to you if you have the upper education plans as a district for Google. It's not just the basic plan. You could also get this, and this is how I get it, using your personal Gmail. So I use this as a teacher-only AI tool for right now until I figure out another way to get it and push it out to my students. Or even if I might not even want to push this out to my students, at least not right now. But Notebook LM. So let me go into the dashboard here. This is the sign up for this. We could try Notebook LM. I'm already signed in. I've made several here, but I have more on my other personal account. For my biology class, what I did is this is an AI generated setup here, but I did import one resource. I imported my key for my 2019 AP Bio Unit 1 Chemistry of Life guide, and this is a PDF. Now, when I brought it in, I didn't bring in all the pictures and the diagrams and stuff. I just brought in the goods, the notes, all right? And the AI is going to be able to sift through this and be able to tell me a lot of things that I need to know. So if I was a teacher, this would be useful because if I wanted to find anywhere in this, let's say 75-page review document, I want it to explain water polarity and hydrogen bonding, it will sift through that and it will find exactly anywhere in here where it talks about water polarity, and it's going to tell you exactly where it's found within that document. So there are several different places where water is brought up during this study guide here. Over here you have a resource guide or a little summary of the source and some key topics that you could click on. And then over here, you have the studio. And here I already asked it to make a podcast, so I'm just going to have it load. This could take a little bit of time because it is pretty long. This is a very long document. This is going to be somewhere between a 20 and a 25-minute podcast, probably 28-minute podcast. And there's two people in here. So I'm going to show you this real quick. So if I hit play, you're going to hear the voices.
All right. Time to dive into this stack of biochemistry notes and textbook chapters you've given us.
Looks like someone's preparing for a deep dive into biology.
Yeah, it's a lot sometimes, but I have to say, understanding how life works at the molecular level.
All right, so we played 13 seconds there. I want to show you that there's an interactive mode now. So if I wanted to ask the podcast a question, it just said something about molecular level. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit interactive mode. I'm going to be able to interrupt their podcast and ask them, what do you mean by molecular level? Here we go.
Well, it is pretty mind-blowing.
I have to allow microphone.
All right, time to dive. Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
Can you explain what you mean by molecular level?
That's a great question.
It's fundamental to what we're talking about.
When we say molecular level, we're talking about the tiny world of atoms and molecules.
The really, really small building blocks that make up everything.
Think of it like this. You can look at a plant. You can see its leaves, its stem, its roots. That's the macroscopic level.
Visible to the naked eye.
Then you could zoom in maybe with a microscope and see the plant's cells. That's the cellular level.
Getting smaller.
But if you zoom in even further past the cell structures, you'd get to the molecular level.
The level of individual...
All right, so you kind of get the idea there. I just asked it a question, I interrupted it, and it stopped what it was doing, and it told me exactly what the molecular level was. All right, so this is Notebook LM. It's an awesome space, awesome tool here. And now we are going to go back into the presentation, and we're going to take a look at Diffit Books. Diffit Books is really just an update because we've gone over Diffit on the podcast and on the YouTube channel before, but it's such an amazing AI tool. Diffit Books just takes it to the next level. So if there is a book that you're covering in class, more than likely it's probably going to be there. And if it's not there, you can request that that book is added. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Diffit. All right, we're starting here. I'm going to sign in just so you can see all the awesome sources and resources that it makes. All right, here's the book area. And if you don't know what Diffit is, you can really make resources, study aids, quizzes, things like that, that are differentiated and personalized for your students. So if you need to take something from English to Spanish, you can do that. If you want to take something from a 12th grade reading level to a 9th grade reading level, you can do that, and it's going to make a lot of different resources. What I want to show you today is books. So here, if we're doing The Catcher in the Rye in class, you could see that The Catcher in the Rye is right here. If you don't see your book, you could request it, and they'll do their best to get it on there. Here's the start chapter of 1, end chapter of 5. I'm going to make it 9th grade, and here's where you could change it to different languages. You could come back and do that later if you wanted both English and Spanish. You could do that. I'm going to hit Generate Resources, and what it's going to do is it's going to work within those first 5 chapters of the book. It's going to make short answer questions, multiple choice questions. It's going to give you images that you could set as your title, header. So if you take a look here, here's the long form summary of those 5 chapters. Here's the summary of the summary. Some key vocab words. You could add some, you could change, you could add images to them. Here's some multiple choice questions, short answer, and open-ended. I love the fact that we could take these multiple choice questions and send them directly over into forms by going right here, and they could take it as a quiz as well. There are other student activities, whether it's infographics, whether it's flowcharts, claims evidence reasoning, workbooks, and things like that that you could also add just by adding get student activities there. All right, so that is Diffit Books. We are going to go back into the presentation, go to the next one, which is Google Lens. This one is something, it's kind of like unknown to a lot of people, but if you know about it, you use it a lot. All right, Google Lens is a reverse lookup. It's if you ever used like iNaturalist or any of those apps that allow you to identify plants, animals, trees, anything like that, it could do that. You could look up the price of something. You could see where it's found on the website, things like that. I love this on my phone. Over the summer, I have daddy school with my 3 kids. We like to do a 45-minute lesson a day. I try to keep it fun. A lot of times it's a nature hike, and we try to find certain things. It's like a scavenger hunt. So our last one was on fungus, different types of fungus, and I had them look for mushrooms and shelf fungi and stuff like that. And then we use Google Lens on our phone to identify the types of fungus. You could also use it on your computer. You go up to the 3 dots, and then there's a search with Google Lens here. So if I click search with Google Lens, I could select anything. So say that I like this 3rd headset right here, and I draw around it a little box. If you look over to the right, it's going to find that headset and how much it costs on different sites. So it will do the same thing if you had a plant or an animal here. It will show you the matches for that. And it's pretty accurate, I must say. I've gone to a thrift store, and if I thought like a glass bottle or something like that looked interesting, I would use my Google Lens on my phone. I would take it and it would say, hey, this sold for $200, but I could get it for $2. And, as silly as it sounds, it's that easy. And not a lot of people do it. So pretty cool there. The other thing I used it for is I went to Oktoberfest in September in Germany. And a lot of the signs and plaques and things like that when I went, just exploring around Munich and places like Munich and nearby areas, a lot of it was in German. I can't read German. I can't speak German. So I would use my Google Lens and it would translate it to English for me right then and there. If you want to know more ways that you could use Google Lens, here is a video that I explain other uses. Here's the website. You can check that out as well. My next one is called Sky Followers Bridge. This is a Google extension. It's pretty awesome in the way that a lot of educators seem to be moving to Blue Sky, either permanently and dropping Twitter or X, or they're doing what I'm doing and kind of just I'm testing the waters over there to see whether or not Blue Sky is a better place for a PLN in education. I do not have the answer right now, but I wanted to follow some of the same followers that I had on Twitter. So what you do is you download this extension. It's going to go through your Twitter followers and the people that you follow. And it's going to show you all the people that have a Blue Sky account. And then you can select either add all, or you can do what I'm doing, and I'm adding the ones that I've talked to or learned something from over the last year. So I pull out a lot of people's stuff. I use their stuff, give them credit. And, those people I want to continue to follow and make sure that I'm keeping in touch with. I'm not saying that not everyone is important, but I'm trying to use Blue Sky as I want to make sure that the things that come up in my feed are things that I actively participate in or people that I actively participate with. So Blue Sky Followers Bridge, there's a video down here. I show you exactly how to use it, how to get it working on your site, but it's definitely worth a check out. Before I head out, I'm going to explain how you can vote on the winner for this EdTech Throwdown. What you could do on YouTube under this video in the comments, you can vote Guise just by saying or spelling out Guise underneath in the comments. You can explain why or which tools that you really liked to help you make that decision. Or you could just simply put Guise, that's fine. If you want, you could put Nick too, but, I'm going to support Guise on this one. Over on any of the socials, you could put a comment underneath the episode saying either Guise or Nick and the same reasoning, what tools you liked, anything like that underneath. And we're going to add up all of those votes, and we will share the winner on the following episode. Without any further ado, I'm going to head out of here, and I'm going to let you guys take a look at Nick's 6 favorite AI tools.
All right, so I'm going to present my 6 tools now, starting with Khanmigo /Writing Coach. That's really the one I wanted to get in here, is this new Khan Academy Writing Coach, but it's all kind of built in with Khanmigo, and the more I can share this, the better. You've heard us talk about it on the show before. This is an AI hub, as we call it, specifically designed for teachers. So if you need a quick exit ticket about a certain thing, a lesson hook that you just can't quite think of, some way to put a topic you're teaching in a real world context, you can do that. A chat GPT model, but within here, rather than using chat GPT, they're integrating with tools like Blookit. This is one of the newer things where you can have it come up with a bunch of questions and then export those straight to Blookit. Anything you do is kept in a My Documents. So here's an AP Chemistry newsletter that I had to put together that I can use before I export it. You can bring in students and classes and all kinds of other stuff. But now, and this is added within the past couple months, at least as we're recording this, they have a thing called Writing Coach. This is one of the ways that I think AI is going to be involved with the future of education in a positive way, because with Writing Coach, you can give students assignments. You can see over here on the left, it's very simple, right? Create assignment, easy to use. And when you create an assignment, share this with your students. They work on that assignment, that piece of writing here in this, in the Khan Academy website. And as they do so, there's an AI little guide on the side that prompts them along the way. So it'll help get them started by, if part of the assignment is writing a thesis statement, the AI will ask them to do so and maybe give them some tips. And it kind of walks you through the writing process in this very personalized, individualized way. And it's just so super cool. All the stuff is going to be kept, right? There's a little My Essays section. So here's some examples that we've demoed before. But I think this is great. I think if you're a teacher who has your students doing writing, whether it's lab reports for science or your typical essay in an English class, this is something you definitely want to check out. As it is now, teachers can use this for free. And as long as you are a student of that teacher, they can also use it for free. So the Writing Coach is just another really awesome reason to get in there and check out Khanmigo, which, by the way, is also free, an added benefit that your other more popular things like Magic School are not going to give you. So that was my first one. My second one is called Teachable Machine. I think this is really, really fun and really neat. We're using this to help educate students about AI and what it is and how it works. So this is a website, another sort of experimental Google platform, teachablemachine.withgoogle.com. I'm going to try to demo some of this, although I'm not sure how well it's going to work because I'm also recording the screen. But if you just look here, you can see what it does. This lets any person without any coding training whatsoever train an AI model based on image or audio input. So what you see happening up here is, let's go to the next one is, okay, puppy or a dog and not a dog, right? Metal or not metal. So this is audio input. Poses, tree pose, wings pose. By putting in different images within each category, I believe it calls them classes, you can actually train the AI model to recognize things. So if I click on Get Started, you can see that you can choose image, audio, or pose. I'm going to try to do image and select standard model. There's two different classes where you can put in anything that's going to be in those images that you want it to classify. Like let's do smile and not smile. Okay, so there's my two classes. And then I select my webcam. This is the part that I'm not sure is going to work. Looks like it is. And then I simply, basically start smiling, right? And as I click this blue button, right, it's not really capturing my face because I've got two different webcams running, but you get the idea. Right now I've given it 9 image samples of smiles, and then I would repeat that same thing here with my straight face. And then the more of these that I do, I click Train Model, and it's going to train it. This only takes a couple minutes to think. And then over here, you can preview how well that thing works. In other words, if I smile, it's going to try to guess what facial expression I'm making. Now, this one's not working super well because these images that I trained it on were not very good. But that's great because that is just how this thing is supposed to work, right? You are teaching students what AI is, how it functions. You can add different classes. So you can do smile, frown, straight face. In the sample you saw before, puppy and not a puppy, just literally anything you can take a picture of and classify, you could use. Here's the really cool part that I know nothing about. Once you're done, you can actually export the code for the model that you've just developed so that it can actually be used in other applications like websites or apps. I don't know enough on the technical side to understand what any of this is, but I think some of our listeners may, so I wanted to show that part too. So this might be for, maybe in an actual class devoted to the technical coding side of AI. That part exists here too. Teachable Machine is fun, it's easy, and it can work across a range of ability levels for your students. I think it's great. All right, next up we have School AI Sidekick. School AI we've talked about many times. This is a custom-built chatbot for education. So you can sign up for School AI, which you can do for free as a teacher, and you can describe a chat room, a chatbot basically that you want students to use to ask questions about a specific thing. In School AI, those are called spaces. Well, School AI now has a different thing called a sidekick, which is very similar to a space but more general, and sort of like, I think of it as an AI tutor on the side that will do whatever I ask it to do. Also free to use, and I'm going to jump here just straight to an example of what Sidekick can do. So here's one of the, like a study guide that I might provide my AP chemistry students. At the top of the study guide is a link that says Sidekick Help. So if I'm a student, I would click that link, put in my name and a space code that automatically fills in when using the link, and click on Join. And the idea is, and I would show my students this in advance so that they are kind of prepped for it for the year, if they get to a question like number 3 that they do not know how to answer, they can copy paste it into Sidekick, or they can just ask like literally any question they want, but this is probably the easiest way. They copy paste in the question, and Sidekick responds by saying, "Great question. First, can you identify whether HF and HCl are polar or nonpolar?" Now, the benefit of this is it's not just giving them the answer, right? ChatGPT, they could get an answer to this question, and that has some benefits, right? Because they could read that response, and that might be helpful. But this is actually guiding them through the process, right? Because to answer this question about boiling points, knowing if the molecules are polar or nonpolar is the first thing they have to consider. That's what I would say if I was a teacher tutoring this student. But the AI Sidekick is there doing it for me, basically, when I can't be available, or if the student is trying to work on this at home. I will add that when I created the guidelines for this particular Sidekick, because you're going to describe to School AI what you want it to do, it helps if you specifically tell it, do not answer the questions for the students, try to guide them through the process. And that will give you some really excellent results. And it's just like another resource to provide your kids who might need that assistance. All right, next up, I have one called Debunk Bot. This is another way to help teach people about AI, teach students, teach parents about AI. This is developed by MIT as hopefully what is a non-confrontational way to use AI to help people understand conspiracy theories and whether or not they have any merit. What's cool about it is that it asks you right from the beginning. I'm going to try to get to the point here where it sort of begins the whole process. Right now, it's just checking to make sure that I am a human being. It just asks you from the beginning, like, hey, is there something you believe that you think would count as a conspiracy theory? And you can type in whatever you want. So here's where it begins. Throughout history, various theories have emerged that suggest certain events or situations are the result of secret plans by individuals or groups. These theories are often alternative explanations. Some people call these conspiracy theories. It says then at the bottom, if so, please describe one below. So one meaning, is there something that you find credible or compelling? So you can say, I think humans did not land on the moon. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying as like an example, you could type that in. And then it just sort of slowly teases out like what you mean by that. This next question is, could you share what led you to find this compelling? So like, why do you think that? Please describe in as much detail as you feel comfortable. So it's super non-judgmental. It makes you actually, consider questions like, why do you believe that? And describe it. And it's just sort of keep responding to the things you say. And then whatever comes out of that comes out of that. But of course, the idea is that, as you get responses from the AI, you might eventually land on like, maybe this thing that I think doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or maybe it doesn't mean what I thought it meant. And I like this as another way that AI can be used positively to, maybe do some good in the world and help people understand what's true, rather than what AI can often do, which is highlight what is not true or completely made up. Okay, next is something called Deladeo, I believe is how you say that. This one I cannot demo because I do not have this tool. It's also a little bit unique from what we usually talk about, which are free tools. This is not free. This is something your district would have to pay for. But when I saw it, I was so excited about it, I felt like I had to bring it to the podcast. Deladeo is a web filter for students. Now, most schools, I believe, are going to have something like this. I know we have one where a teacher can block websites based on lists. So if I don't want my students on YouTube, I can block YouTube. But the problem with that type of filtering is there's about 1,000 ways to get around these list-based blocking web filters. But with Deladeo, they actually use AI to do the filtering and the blocking for you. So a lot of the problems teachers have is students playing games on things like Google Sites. Now you could block all Google Sites, but you might also not want to do that. But Deladeo blocks gaming not based on specific URLs, but based on what it detects students doing with their mouse and their keyboard. And if those clicks and keyboard taps seem like it might have something to do with a game, it's going to block that thing. It also blocks things in like real time, just like as search results pop up, it can blur out certain things and not blur out others. To me, this is just something that school districts should know about. So maybe if you're in a place to share things like this with your school administration, that might be a cool one to do so. And that brings me to my final of 6 called Twin Picks. This is another fun way to teach people about AI. The way Twin Picks works is each day it gives you an AI generated image that you try to recreate with a prompt that is 100 characters or less. So I'm going to try to do that now. I'm not sure what animal that is. I guess a squirrel. And I'll say that's a cute cartoon squirrel with butterflies, and if I could spell, butterflies and flowers surrounding the border. And I know this is not going to give great results, but I'm just trying to do a fast version. You click create image, it's going to think and use AI to develop my image. And the coolest part about it is it's going to give you a percentage of how close you were to that one. Now, like right off the bat, it looks nothing like that because I was fairly vague. This says I was 75% correct. Cool part about this is you can have your students all try this at once. They all have the same image and basically see who gets the best results. This is a good way to teach them about prompt engineering and what it means to write a good prompt, how to be specific to get out the results that you want to get. That's a really important part of AI in general, and that's what Twin Picks is sort of all about. So this is our official list, my 6 tools versus Guise's 6 tools. The bit.ly link that you see there, I mean, you can head to it if you want, but this was from the live version of this presentation where we had the audience vote on who has the better ones. You can let us know on social media if you want which of us you think won here. I believe when we did this live a few weeks ago, Guise actually won. Probably because he had Notebook LM, which is by far the better tool. But I think that wraps it up for episode 186. As always, everybody, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at GuiseGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You can tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.